Hi, it's Maya here, and in my goals video I asked you if you wanted to see a video about the series where I have only 1 or 2 books left to read to complete the series, and some of you said yes, so here we are. I decided to mostly choose a series that are complete so I could actually finish the series within 1 or 2 books. And let's start with the series that I have 1 book left to read in. I'm going to look over here because I have my list here. So the first is Arcadia Project by Michelle Baker, and I own as an ebook the final book, Imposter Syndrome. And this is an urban fantasy series with the Fae. The main character and the author have borderline personality disorder, which also plays a part in the main character's life, of course. I really enjoyed the second book especially. I liked the first one, but I liked some of the twists and turns that came in the second book when it came to the world and the fairy. So it moves in LA, in like the entertainment world, and then it also has the Fae aspect to it. One reason why I haven't finished this is because I read the first 2 books such a long time ago. So can I get on board to the final events? Not sure, but I should really go and finish this series. Next, I have the Inheritance trilogy by N.K. Jemisin, and I own the ebook of The Kingdom of Gods, which is the 3rd and final book, and this is a fantasy series of companion novels. And I love the first book, The 100,000 Kingdoms, and I really like the second book, Broken Kingdoms. This series has like gods and mortals mixing in this fantasy world. That's just something that I like in fantasy. I don't actually know a lot about this third one because it is a companion novel. I know what god it focuses on, and I'm quite excited to see where it goes. Then the third series is The Glamorous Histories by Mary Robinette Kowal, which is a bit of a dilemma for me. So the fifth and final book is Of Noble Family, and I have read all the previous books from the library. They had some as physical copies and some on Overdrive, but they don't have the 5th and final book in any format. And I have asked them a couple of times to add it to the collection in different ways. So I have sent an Overdrive request and I have requested it from a library, but they haven't gotten it. So I would need to buy it, but I don't want to buy it because I don't have the previous books. And the ebook isn't one of the cheapest ebooks available. So Of Noble Family is the final one to finish reading this series, and I don't know when I will get to it. This is a Fantasy of Manners series with light magical elements, like there's this glamours that people can weave. I can't remember, I don't think the magic has been the main factor of the plots in this series. Then I have 2 series where one of them I'm not sure if it is ongoing and one of them is sort of ongoing. So the sort of ongoing one is Dauntless Path by Intisar Kanani. So I own A Darkness at the Door, which is basically the 3rd novel, but the 2nd one to follow the main character Ray. And I think that completes the story of Ray. So there might be more books set in this world to come, but I would sort of get closure by finishing A Darkness at the Door. So this is a young adult fantasy series where the first book, was a fairy tale retelling of the Goose Girl, but the second book started this other duology set in the same world, featuring some of the same characters as more background characters. And that one isn't a fairy tale retelling, so it has its own thing, does its own thing, and they are quite hard-hitting young adult fantasy, focusing on some difficult topics. And I really, really enjoy them. I really like Intisar Kanani's writing, and I think these are very underappreciated. Other series is one that I don't know if this is ongoing or not, is the Dead Djinn universe by B. Shelley Clark. So I have Master of Djinn left to read. I could get it from the library whenever I want. And this series is set in early 19th century Cairo with a couple of different main characters. I have read the novellas and short stories that come before this novel, and Master of Djinn has the same character who is sort of a detective, or I don't know what to call her, but she works for the Ministry of Alchemy, Enchantments and Supernatural Entities, so she's sort of an investigator. So this one is set in Cairo, like I said, with added magic like jinn and angels and all sorts of supernatural entities living there. Then we're moving on to the series where I have 2 books left to read. I debated whether to add trilogies to this list because if I have only read the first book in a trilogy, I have more than half of the series left to read, so it feels like more of an effort to finish it, but I decided to add them anyway. But first I'm going to talk about 2 longer series, 5-book series. So the first is Witches of Lichford by Paul Cornell. This is a series of novellas set in the modern day about witches, and I have The Lights Go Out in Lichford as an ebook. That's the 4th book that I need to read. And then the final book is called Last Stand in Lichford, which I don't own. The other 5-book series is Split Worlds by Emma Newman. And this is an interesting series in that 3 of the books were published quite earlier than the final 2. So that perhaps explains why I read the first 3. I read them with Rachel from Kalanadi actually. And I noticed that my library has on overdrive the remaining 2 books, so A Little Knowledge and All Good Things, so I could finish this series. But once again, it has been very long since I read the first book, so do I remember everything? This is like sort of a mixture between urban fantasy and fantasy of manners in that there are 2 worlds, split worlds. There's this fantasy world that sort of lives more with this Victorian kind of rules, and then there's our world, the modern world. So I think I remember that in our world, people don't know that there's magic. This, I think, wasn't one of my favorites, especially from Emma Newman. I prefer the science fiction series starting with Planetfall, but I'm sort of interested to know how it ends because there were a couple of things left to bother me from the 3rd book that were not tied up. So finally, we are moving on to the trilogy. So I have only 2 books left to read, but I have more than half of the series to finish in this complete series. So first is the Daivabad trilogy by S.A. Chakraborty. So I just read the first book, City of Brass, last year, and I own as ebooks The Kingdom of Copper and The Empire of Gold. I had bought them from different ebook sales even before I read The City of Brass. So I have those and I could finish them whenever I want. So this is of course the fantasy series that starts in historical Cairo in 18th century, where this con woman Nahri gets tangled into this world of the jinn, and then most of it is set in the City of Brass, the city of the jinn. So this is one that I do want to continue, and I like the first book, but I've heard that the series keeps getting better, so I think I will like it, the second book, even more. Then one series that's been on my list for quite long is Southern Reach by Jeff Vandermeer. So I've only read Annihilation, but I loved it. I read it almost in one sitting. I really liked the weird vibes, but I haven't read Authority or Acceptance, and my library has them, so I could read them. But I do also want to reread Annihilation. It's very different from the movie. I've also seen the movie, and I don't think one would need to reread it to finish the series, and they might be more of companion books, I don't know. But the first book, I just want to reread it because it was so good and it stands well alone. So this is like this new weird science fiction story where there's this area that has different rules from our regular world, and expeditions go in there to study it, and we are following one of these expeditions. And the final series and trilogy on this list is the Xenogenesis series by Octavia E. Butler. So I read Dawn, I think in 2020, and I thought it was so good. It was the best Butler I've read so far, and I have Adulthood Rights, the second book, as an ebook, and then there's also the third book, Imago, which I don't own. So Dawn was like this first contact aliens coming to save the shreds of humanity, a spaceship set book which had this great tension between the humans and the aliens and how they were completely different in how they work and how they understand or don't understand each other, and I found it to be so very fascinating. So those were all the series. I have 1 or 2 books left to read to basically complete the series. I also have some series to catch up on that are ongoing, like The Singing Hills Cycle by Nivo. I haven't read the novella that was published last year. I know there's another one coming out this year, but I didn't want to put those like ongoing series into this list. So if you want to help me, let me know in the comments which of these series I should finish first. And that's all from me for now. I'll see you in my next video.